Good morning, students of class 7. In my last video, I told about the slave dynasty, and today going to discuss about the Khilji dynasty. Move on next page. Balban died in 1286. The power of the Sultan was diminishing, and after the order and stability of Balban's reign, there was a general state of chaos and confusion. The last Mamluk ruler was overthrown by Jalaluddin Khilji, leading to the beginning of the Khilji dynasty. Jalaluddin Firoz Khilji was an old man and was unable to attack Ranthambore, so he sent his nephew Alauddin to crush the revolt at Devgiri. After his successful campaigns in the Deccan, Jalaluddin Khilji was dethroned and killed by his nephew and also son-in-law Alauddin Khilji. And it was the beginning of Khilji dynasty. Alauddin was the most successful sultan of this period. He was an able administrator and brilliant general. He assumed power in troubled times and often used cruel and ruthless measures to strike terror in the heart of his enemies and strengthen his position. The Mamluk dynasty came to an end in 1290. Jalaluddin Khilji was the founder of the Khilji dynasty. Alauddin Khilji was a mild and a pious person and also brilliant and good administrator. During Alauddin's reign, Delhi Sultanate extended beyond the Vindhyas up to the Deccan. Alauddin expedition in Gujarat in 1209 was his first attempt at the expansion of the empire. Malik Kafur was a military general of Alauddin's army during this time. Actually, Malik Kafur was a slave of Alauddin Khilji, but later he was a military general of Alauddin's army. In the south, Alauddin had already made a pact with the ruler of Devgiri before he became the sultan. By this pact, Devgiri had promised to pay taxes, and Alauddin attacked Devgiri again when the ruler failed to pay the taxes. Defeated rulers were made to pay tributes and accept Alauddin as their overlord. The booty from the Deccan was used to pay for the maintenance of his army and administrative expenses. His empire extended from the Brahmaputra in the east to the Arabian Sea in the west, from the Himalayas in the north to Madurai in the south. He was the first Muslim sultan to cross the Vindhyas, making the empire the largest since at the time of Ashoka. Alauddin was far-sighted. That's why he did not annex the Deccan after the conquering. He realized that it would not be easy to control these provinces from Delhi. His main objective was to acquire as much wealth as possible for the south to pay and maintenance of his huge large army and for the administration of his territories, which I already told. In the reign of Alauddin's reign, the Mongols continuously invaded Delhi between the years of 1296 to 308. Alauddin successfully defeated them at the battles of Jalandhar in 1298, Kili 1299, Amroha 1305 and Ravi 1306. After the defeat, many Mongols settled in Delhi and converted to Islam. They were known as the New Muslims. Alauddin was suspicious of them and had them all killed. He is said to have erected by the Charminar at Siri, where the bodies of the slain Mongols were hung. Old frontier forts were repaired and trusted generals were employed to defend them. Several measures to bring the nobles under his control. Alauddin adopted several measures to bring the noble under his control, like not allowed it to intermarry without Alauddin's permission, and also no parties could be organized by the nobles without consent of the Sultan. Next, this spy system was set up all parts of his administration, and all feudal land grants were confiscated and fresh grants were made by him. Recognition of the army, the size of the standing army was generally enlarged. He introduced dag, which was the branding of horses to prevent horse theft, and chehra, which was an identity card for every soldier to prevent corruption and defection. Spies were kept in every aspect of unit of the army. Nobles were not allowed to maintain the armies, and salaries of the soldiers were reduced and fixed. Revenue reforms. Land was measured and the share of the state was fixed. Special revenue officials were appointed to collect taxes, and Sultan increased the tax from 1/3 to 1/2 of the harvest. It was to be paid in cash. The land tax was called Kharaj. The land revenue of the fertile Doab region was increased to half of the produce. He eliminated the middleman to keep a strained eye of the collection of taxes. Salaried revenue officials were employed for the collection, and accounts were regularly audited to prevent corruption. That is important topic of Alauddin Khilji's reign, that is market policy. Alauddin Khilji took steps to control prices. Firstly, he set up 3 markets. They were food grains, cloth and expensive items like sugar, dry fruits, and lastly horses, slaves and cattle. All markets, each and all markets was under control by an officer called Sahana. Next, prices of all commodities were fixed and prices of essential items were kept low. If anyone caught hoarding goods or cheating customers in price or weight was severely punished. If a merchant sold a commodity that weighed less than its started weight, an amount of flesh equivalent deficiency in weight was cut off from his body. State where houses were set up and stocked with food grains which were released whenever there was a famine or a shortage. Arts and learning. Alauddin was a great patron of art and literature. He patronized poets and scholars like Amir Hassan and Amir Khusru. He built Ali Darwaja in front of the Qutub Minar and a madrasa near it. He built the palace of a 1,000 pillar temple at Warangal, Hoj Khas, a huge public bath, and the Siri fort were also constructed during his reign. Ali Darwaja is the main gate of the southern side of the Qutub complex. This is one of the first structures built using the Islamic style of architecture. It is decorated using the Naqsh script. Alauddin constructed the fortified city of Siri to defend his empire against the Mongols. Legend has it that the severed heads of about 8,000 Mongols were buried in the foundation, giving it in the name of Siri. This was his place of residence. Presently, the original location of Siri fort still retains some of the Khilji era monuments. The city walls of Siri, built of rubble, can be seen at Shahapur Jat near the Asid village. The Hoj Khas was a reservoir used to supply water to the inhabitants of Siri fort. Through a religious man, he did not allow religion to interfere in the matters of the state, and the ulema were kept in control. After the death of Alauddin, there was a scramble for power. His slave Malik Kafur tried to seize power but was killed. There was a period of civil. The rulers were weak, and the slaves of Alauddin put Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq on the throne 1320. The Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq had served under the Alauddin Khilji as a warden of the marches in the frontier provinces. He had repelled many Mongol attacks during his term under the Khilji rulers. He assumed the title of Sultan after defeating the killing Khusru Khan. Khusru Khan was the last Khilji ruler. This led to the beginning of the Tughlaq dynasty, which I discuss in my next video. Your next video belongs to Tughlaq dynasty. So, today's discussion ended here. You learn this PDF carefully and learn market policy. It is very important for Alauddin Khilji. Okay, thank you.